Hey, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining my training presentation. I think we missed last week, so I'm excited to get back on here and just get the training going and the conversations going. We have an hour. I know it goes by quickly, so thank you so much for your participation. It really means a lot to me. Keeps me motivated and it helps me stay fresh too with ideas and everything. So on this particular call, what we're gonna do is we want to go over different ways of getting business and just kind of brainstorm together. So I want to bring everyone together. And at this moment, I want everyone to think of and something that they are doing to get business that's working for them that they can share with us, right? I'm gonna be going over a list that I put together myself of different things that you can be doing to get business. But at the end, I'll talk about that for maybe 15, 20 minutes. And then at the end, I want to open it up to you guys because, the one thing about the mortgage industry is that it's constantly changing. I mean, it's from when I started in 1997 to now, there's been so many changes in the way of doing business and so many styles and things come and go. Social media being a perfect example, right? It's something newer to all of us. It's been around for a minute, but I think that a lot of agents and a lot of loan officers recently have began to embrace it a little bit more and more, right? I'm old school, so it's taken me a little bit longer just because I'm not used to being in front of a camera. I'm sure for younger loan officers that grew up with the technology and having, iPhones and iPads, it's a lot easier for them because it's something that they can develop early on, right? But anyhow, there's so many ways. I mean, it's endless, countless different examples. And for me, I've always thought about the things that I enjoy doing and then gravitating to those activities. So that way it makes it more fun and exciting to work, to be doing the things that I need to be doing to get business, right? Uh, and keep in mind, one of the most important things is creating that experience, right? I always tell, when I'm talking to people, I always tell them that you want to be the go-to person. You want to become the go-to person, just the same way that we have mechanics that we go to, hairdressers, massage therapists, or anything on that list, right? That we could recommend, say, oh, this is a great guy. I have a great chiropractor that when anyone says that their back is hurting or they have a knot, I already know who I'm going to refer because this guy's amazing. He's done miracles for me. I've been going to him now off and on for about 9, 10 years. And everyone I referred to him has had good experiences with him as well. That's who we want to become. We want to become that person that top of mind. This is the person you're going to work with. This is the person that you're going to go to because that's going to give you a continuous flow of business throughout your whole career. I became independent in 2001. And what that means is that I had my own broker shop. I was on my own. Everything that I did was on my own wit, my own ability, my own skills to continue thriving and making a living from 2001 and on. So my own survival depended on what was in here and how I invested in myself. And fortunately, since from 2001 to now, I haven't had to look back, right? Somehow I've been able to survive. And how is it that I've been able to survive? How is it that I've been able to close a lot of loans, right? Because I became that go-to person for a lot of people. In fact, I'm even trying to move a little bit away from doing loans, but I still get calls from a lot of my past clients, and sometimes I can't help it, but helping them and with the technology that we have now, it makes it easy for me to squeeze a loan here and there. I try not to do it just because I want to stay focused on high level stuff for you guys, to create a wonderful experience here at Equity Smart and keep providing all the tools. And this is big, it takes a lot of mental bandwidth away from me, and I'm okay with that. I enjoy doing that part of it because it's my way of giving back and showing the people that want to get into mortgage lending, what it takes and how easily you can do this now. And I think my favorite part more than ever from when I started is that you have the ability to pretty much work from anywhere. And we didn't really have that back then. And I think that's a huge win because now your territory has expanded. Now you can do loans pretty much in any state that you're licensed in. And the fact that most people are okay with interacting over the internet, over the phone, makes it a lot easier for all of us, because that means that we can have clients, in San Diego, Florida, Texas, wherever you're licensed at, right? And that makes it really, really convenient because they're okay with that process. And I think the whole COVID era help bolster that, and solidify that, where people are like, okay, I'm okay, dealing with my mortgage guy over the phone. I don't need to go and visit him. We're all busy. We have, busy schedules. A lot of people don't want to battle through traffic, and they're okay with that, right? So, but it creates a new sets of challenges, right? Because when you're in front of people, you're able to provide an experience because it's visible, you're present, they can see you, they can see your body language, right? So how do we make this happen over the phone? How do we make this happen? If we're just gonna want to interact that way, and those are the discussions that I want to have today with you guys, because these are all things that are new to the industry, that are things that I want to hear on what you guys are doing. But for now, let me go ahead and put my list up here. Let me share that with you really quick. So here are some of the things that you guys can be doing, right? So number one, networking events, attend industry conferences, seminars, and local networking events to connect with real estate agents, builders, and other professionals. And for us loan officers, it's great to have these partners, right? When you go after a realtor, a builder, or someone that can give you potential business, they are a revolving door, which means that they can continuously give you business, right? If you go consumer direct, the only thing that you can really expect from that borrower is going to be referrals, right? From friends, family, coworkers, and all that. But an active realtor, an active builder, they're going to continue to have business down the pipeline that you could take advantage. So you go in there, you build the relationship, you close them hard. Now you have someone that can really give you business for time to come, right? They're going to be your core base, the core people that you want to have, so that you can have that guaranteed flow of business. Because one thing that we can all agree on is that the bills keep coming every month, right? And one of the things that makes real estate and being a loan officer scary for many people is that they don't have that consistency, right? They don't have that consistent flow of money to be able to pay for their bills or rent and all that. And it concerns them that if they don't get a transaction, they may not be able to pay the bills, right? So a lot of us are fortunate because we either started in the business and transitioned over into as an independent loan officer, or some of us have spouses or whoever, and it gave us the ability to be able to learn this really well and get good at it, so that we have a consistent flow of business. But not everyone has that, right? And for me, one of the core things that always kept me afloat and kept me paying the bills was having these relationships and just picking up my phone, being present, taking them out, going to events, and having them refer business over to me so that I can pre-qualify their customers. Now, the cool thing is I would get customers, right? And I would read the referral. And during my early days, I would drive to the customer, meet them, and then I'd close a deal. And then I'd get not only referrals from the same partner, but I'd not be getting referrals from that family that I closed, especially if they were a big family and they knew a lot of people. Now I opened up another gateway, right? And now I started working directly with those family, the brothers, the sisters, which led to other. And I always asked for the business. I always said, hey, do you know anyone that, when I close a transaction, I do a follow-up call and say, I just want to make sure everything went well. You guys are moved in. And lastly, if there's anyone I can help you, anyone in the family, coworker, anyone I can help, please keep me top of mind. And then what I would do is I'd put them in an email campaign, very basic. You don't have to have a sophisticated CRM. A lot of people think you have to have a very complex CRM, and you can. I'm sure that's pretty useful. But I would just do a monthly newsletter, and you guys can pay for some, pre built out newsletters that have different discussions about the mortgage industry rates or anything that's economically relevant, and just a quick read. And then it keeps them top of mind because it keeps them reminds them that you exist, right, without you having to do anything. And to the point where, like, I built out my contact list pretty big. And in months where I was a little bit slow, I would go in there and I would just send out an additional rates dropped or something like that, and I could start drumming up business. And then I'd start getting calls from the days that followed. that the newsletter went out, or like a special newsletter that I would put together, then I would start getting calls and emails from potential bars, right? And so I knew it worked because it was like kind of shaking the tree and, the bees coming out or something like that. So so then I would use that every so often to try to get business. But the whole thing is, early on, you definitely want to have a contact. And there's a company called iContacts if you want to go kind of cheap. I don't know what they charge now, but it's like 20-30 bucks. And you can keep all your customers and everyone in there, and create newsletters and just drop them in there, and they'll do the email campaigns, and it'll put all the legal language in the bottom, where like if you want to opt out and all the stuff that you're supposed to do, it'll do all that for you. So, but that was one of the things that I did that really worked well for me. It was just uh, working with, and I always wanted to have a stable of about, 15 to 20 realtors. Always have a stable, because there may be 4 or 5 that are only closing one every 2 months, right? There's one that there in that stable, there might be one that's closing one every 3 months, right? And there might be some that are closing, maybe 10% are closing one every month, right? But you start adding that all up, along with the referrals and all these different ways that you're creating to get business, then you're going to find yourself really busy, right? And when rates drop, we get into a refinance boom, and then you start really becoming busy, right? To the point where I think we were closing like 20-30 loans each, like on a bad month, because it was that easy at that time, right? And by the way, that's something that we all look forward to, right? So networking events on the top of the list here is a great way for you to meet people. You get to meet them in person. One of the things that we put in the portal too, if you go to our portal, we have events where you can look up free events. Like, if you haven't signed up for meetups, meetup.com, or it's an app, you put on there all the real estate events or anything like that. You can show up to these events and just try to make it a point to meet 3 or 4 people, but go with that intention. Sometimes we go somewhere and we forget why we're even there, right? We get caught up maybe in the speaker speaking their message and flipping homes or whatever the topic is, right? But make sure you go in there and you make it a point to grab a few business cards. Some of the most fruitful or more profitable relationships that I've had were times where I was invited somewhere and I almost bailed out last minute, because I said, I'm not really going to benefit from, what am I going to get from here, right? I almost talked myself out of it. And a few times that I almost talked myself out of going somewhere, those times were some of the most fruitful times, where I got maybe 6-7 relationships and I got a bunch of loans, and I'm like, oh my God, I almost missed this because I almost talked myself out of, not going to this. So you never know what you're going to get into. And this is the scary part. You don't know what the outcome is, right? Because you don't know if someone is going to actually give you business. You don't know if you're going to meet someone that's going to like you. There's a lot of unknowns with this. For me, that makes it a little exciting, because it puts you in front of people that you might not have met before. And then it gives you an opportunity to provide a service, right? The service that we provide, which is home loans. So networking events, referrals is the next one here. You always got to ask for referrals. One of the things that, Mike Ferry, I have a few takeaways from Mike Ferry, because I used to go to Mike Ferry events, and even if they were real estate oriented events, Mike Ferry draws in a bunch of real estate agents. So if you want to be like in a beehive of real estate agents, those Mike Ferry events are really good, right? Because you could just network and meet tons of people there, because that's what they're there for. And one of the things I remember him saying is, ask at the end, ask when you ask for business, say, do you know 3 people that can benefit from my service? And the logic behind asking, putting a number out there is, now you give them some homework, and now in their mind, they're thinking, oh, wow, I got to get 1, 2, or 3 for Pablo, because that's what he asked for, right? And it's just a psychological thing. And, I thought about it, and I said, yeah, it sounds like it makes sense, right? If someone asks me, hey, do you know 3 people that can benefit from my services? This is at the very end, once you've helped them and everything, right? And somehow in the psychology of it, or behind it, it puts the person into action to try to find those referrals for you. Give it a shot. You have nothing to lose. I don't know if it's scientifically proven that it works, but I don't see why it doesn't work, right? And it's coming from a master salesperson. The other one is online presence, right? I don't know if you guys remember, but when I was a child, I wanted to be a famous movie star, and who doesn't imagine and dream of that, right? It's just like, wow, it'd be cool to be famous and know a lot of people. Well, guess what? With social media, now we have that opportunity to become known, famous. It doesn't cost anything. You just have to have, some level of talent, some level of acting skills, and really, because that's all we're doing when we're on social media, right? We're creating an image, a persona of how we want the world to view us as a mortgage professional, right? Some people, I see them rapping now, and which I think is pretty cool. They're rapping about they make songs, they redo songs, and I don't know if they're really drawing in business, but I think it's funny, it's hilarious. They're getting, thousands of views. Uh, I think, we said this, we've heard this say this over and over again, that attention is the new currency, right? So what do we do? What do we need to do to draw attention to ourselves? How can we get people looking at us so that we can promote what we want to promote, right? And some people like doing it with skits. Some people are more formal. They just go out and say, hey, we got a great FHA program. These are the 3 points. And, but the whole point is that it doesn't cost you anything. And you can have fun and get creative with it. And a lot of you guys are not doing it, and I started doing it and I realized how much work it is. Am I consistent? Probably not as much as I want to be, but I try to get content out as much as possible, once, twice, or 3 times a week. And then then you have all these rules where you got to mix it in with some personal stuff. And then, you got to do this and hashtag that. And I mean, there's so much behind your online presence that it almost warrants you to study, take a class, and really understand it. I'm gonna have Abigail and Bobby kind of do a little bit more workshops for us so that we can get more comfortable and realize how powerful this medium is, right? And my kids, I have a 10-year-old and a 15-year-old. They're growing up with, so they're on TikTok, they're on Instagram, and they're used to this, right? And so when they grow up and they're looking for things, they might go on social media to find this stuff, right? So the stronger you have your footing in social media right now, the little by little you get better at it, then you're going to be able to attack that market down the road. You're going to be ready for it, right? Because people want to be entertained and get business, and I think that's going to be a little bit of a shift in the way we think. But yeah, so make sure your online presence, which goes along with social media marketing, use it to network. I know LinkedIn is a huge network. I get all kinds of people hitting me up. And if you're the type of person that doesn't have time to attend events, it's a great way to send out messages. One of the things that I do too, when I was doing in my Facebook account early on, is I just become friends with anyone anyone that was in the real estate industry, and just little by little build up my friends, and so that they could see what I'm marketing, what I'm promoting, and then also just try to chat with them and try to set up a meetup or anything like that, just to try to get more business and build that stable, right? You always want to have about uh 15 to 20 realtor partners that can send you business, and that stable is always changing. It's not like you're going to reach it and then like, okay, cool, I got 20, I'm set for life, I'm gonna be like Pablo in 30 years and I don't have to do anything else. It doesn't work that way. You have to, there's going to be people that fall off. They have life events, they have things that happen. They pull back on their real estate production. So you're going to have to continuously replenish and work with people to replenish that stable, right? Because some people are going to fall out. The more you have, the better. And Steve Kim, uh, who's also, big producer, been with me since 2003. He's always had his stable of people that his core people that he depends on, right? And this is another way to get in front of those people is, using platforms like LinkedIn, Facebook, to send out a message, say, I'm in your local market. And don't be afraid, rejection is part of what we do. A lot of people don't want to do it, like they're probably going to say no, right? And so you rather just not do it. But it's best that you just do it, don't think about it, and don't get attached to the outcome. If they say yes, great, that's the answer you're looking for. If they say no, big deal, you already had the no, you're not missing out on anything, right? And sometimes it takes a little bit more time and energy to work with someone, right? I've had people that it took them, I started talking to them about our platform, and maybe over 6, 7 months, a year, it took them to join us, but I didn't give up, right? Next thing you know, they joined us with other loan officers, and that's how we were able to grow our platform also, is just having people believe in us and being consistent with it. So real estate agent partnerships is something I've been talking about already. Um, educational workshops and webinars. This is a good one because the idea I came up with is, if you're dual licensed, or even if you're not dual licensed, you can approach the real estate boards. So, here in California, for example, if you're a realtor or real estate agent, you most likely have to join a board so that you can be able to have access to the MLS and all that. But as a loan officer, as an agent, you can do workshops. I've called the Pasadena board and said, hey, I want to do a workshop on reverse mortgages, right? With one of the LOs that works with us. And we contacted them, and they can either set up a Zoom, or they can set up an actual classroom. And you could even charge, do it free, do it lunch and learn. And now what happens now is you have a captive audience of agents and people that that you can do an educational presentation on, and it could be on getting how to get business, it could be on how to stay motivated, and it could be on products, on mortgage programs and products, if there's a first-time home buyer program that just rolled out or anything like that you think people might be interested in. Then you can do that, and you can do that throughout different boards. Right here in Los Angeles where I'm at, there's like about maybe 6, 7 boards that are really close for me to drive, and I can set up these workshops. Another thing you can do that's been huge success is you contact real estate offices, right? Like a local Remax, Keller Williams, or whatever, and you talk to the manager. Usually those companies will have a manager that is running, the kind of the gatekeeper, right? They decide who's doing what. And, there's a Remax down the street, and every so often they like to invite people to come and speak. And they do that as a service to their agents, right? So they'll have like a lender come out, a home inspector, and then we get 15, 20 minutes. We set up like a mini booth. And the last time I did it, I did it for Hector. He was going to be out of town, and he's like, "Hey, can you just step in and do it for me?" And I said, "Sure." I went there, and I told him, "Well, give me your business cards, because I don't want them calling me. I want them calling you. I'm not gonna be able to service them." I kid you not. I did it. The whole audience looked like they had a poker face throughout the whole thing, and I'm like, oh my God, I must be like boring, and they're just not even like excited about what I'm saying, and I'm trying to keep my personality up. But I kid you not, at the end, I went back to my booth, and I had like 5 people line up, and like, oh, here's my card and blah blah blah. I'm like, oh shit, like I still got it, so it was cool. And just like that, I had 6, 7 people that I could have added to my stable, but I gave them Hector's card, and I said, hey, you're gonna call Hector, and blah blah blah. Something I can do with you guys, we can do it locally, we can do Zoom, and it works like a charm, right? Because now they're in front of your face. And we all know that most seasoned realtors, they have a loan officer that they've already been working with. But most realtors understand that they want to have 1 or 2 or 3 in their stable, right? And if you can be that plan B, or second option for them, and then eventually become their first option by you showing them your hard work, your dedication, then those are things that are going to help you. And again, these are things that have kept me in the industry a long time. Like these are things that I've done so that I can last the way I've lasted and have a really excellent income, right? Because that's what we're talking about here. I'm not going to ever show you guys on which lead management company runs really good leads. And, you're going to do 30 calls to get that one bar, and then you're going to close that one bar. All right. So, local community involvement, there's LOs that do that. They get involved in volunteering and doing different things. That's something that you can get involved. I didn't really do too much of that. My main focus was the partnerships, and just providing excellent service for my loan officers and making sure that they had a good experience, right? And I always imagine myself on the other side, right? How do I want to keep my appearance? How do I want to communicate? What type of experience I want to deliver to my agent partners, right? And one of the things that I always did psychologically was convince myself that anytime that they handed me a deal, they're really handing me their paycheck. They're trusting me with their paycheck, because at the end, they want to get paid, but not only do they want to get paid, they want to make sure that the bar that they referred to you also has a great experience and come back and says great things, right? Who doesn't want to hear like, wow, that guy Pablo you referred to me, great guy, gave us a great interest rate, made the process super simple. We were happy. Thank you so much for referring that guy, right? Imagine them telling your referral partner that. And you can strum that up. You could say, hey, at the end, you can say, hey, it'd mean a lot to me if you called John back and told him the great service I provided for you, so he understands the quality of service you got from me. Oh yeah, yeah, don't worry, we'll send him an email or we'll give him a call, right? And that just solidifies your relationship a lot stronger with your agent. And while you're at it, don't forget to ask for the reviews. You guys all should have your own Yelp and Google reviews and all that. Start building that up because that's your reputation, especially if you're a newer loan officer. Make sure you get that going right away and always ask for the reviews, especially if you did a good job, because people are going to start finding you online in the future, and that you're building equity for yourself for future business by doing that. All right, email marketing campaigns. I haven't really done too much of that unless it falls in line with what I shared with you guys earlier, setting up newsletters and organically getting email addresses. When you go to these events, try to get as many business cards. One of the things that we would do is we would sponsor events. We'd set up a booth, and then we'd have a raffle thing. But in order to sign up for the raffle, you had to write down your name, your email address, or drop a business cards in the thing so we can do a raffle. Now, I'd walk away with 100 business cards, and guess where I'm dumping all those business cards? They're going into my database where I can market them, and they'll get my newsletters and my contact information and all that. And I'd also follow up with an email. Hey, it was great meeting you last night. I was at the event. Let me know if we can carve out some time so we can talk for 10 minutes. I want to share with you why I'm an industry expert and why I can help you close your loans a lot faster than any other loan officer. And then, that can lead to those type of things, right? And again, if you make it your goal just to get one realtor partner a week, you have 40 hours in a week to get that one realtor partner, right? Next week, another one, another one. That's 4 in a 1 month. And so you could imagine in a whole 10 months you'll have 40, right? So you can quickly build that up. And when I tell you, you only need about 15 to 20. They have to be producing. They can't be like brand spanking new and they're not doing anything, all of them, right? You have to have a mixture in there. But the whole point is that you can get to a place where you have consistent business fast. It's all up to you and how quickly you want to move. All right, so that falls in line with the email marketing campaign, where you guys can do the where it says right here, industry news, mortgage rates, updates, alerts. One of the cool things that you can do too is you can reach out to different customers or potential customers or referrals or anyone or even past clients and say, hey, would you like a free valuation on your property? You can go on the UWM and use the AVM thing they have there. They print out a really nice report. It's free. You email it to them. Which bar wouldn't want to have a nice fancy report, right? You should carve out time, at least 2 hours a day of just doing these activities. In fact, if you're a seasoned loan officer, 80 to 90% of your time should be in loan origination activities. Shouldn't be in training. Training should be maybe 20, 30%. And then maybe 10% in, I know the math doesn't add up, but you get my point, right? 10%, visiting your current pipeline of loans that you have and where they're falling, where they're at and which one's about to close and which one needs a little nudge. But that shouldn't take too much of your time. That should maybe be like 1 hour of your day, and the rest of the time should be loan originating activities, which are these things that we're talking about here on the slide here, or the list that I'm showing you here. Cold calling. I did a cold calling training here, I think a couple months back with Trinidad. He's a realtor, and he has a system where he has a headphone, they have a dialer, and he's just getting calls. And they fill up the dialer with calls. So as soon as he hangs up, there's another call. And this guy is excellent. I've known him for a long time because he refers me a lot of business. And he's just good at cold calling. He's just a natural cold caller, right? And I think he was explaining to us on that presentation about, different types of personality, identifying if your bar is amiable or if they're, what type of, I think he gave us 4 different personalities, and then adjusting your conversation to that so that you can get that closing. I'm not a big cold calling. I can't really speak on much. We do have that presentation in the library, so if you want to check that one out, and cold, if you're thinking about doing cold calling, it's not a bad thing. And you don't have to necessarily cold call borrowers for their business. You can cold call builders, real estate agents, attorneys, and let them know that you're running a special promotion. You're trying to get business or whatever, and try to drum up business that way too. And they're going to be more receptive, right? Because they're in business, and you never know when you may catch someone right when they need a loan officer. Uh, Participating in home buyer seminars. So that kind of falls in with events, going to events and stuff like that, and or even creating your own. We have Melinda. She's been with me for a while. I've known her since high school, and I've been to her office a few times, and she owns the building where she's at, and what she does is she shuts down the whole parking lot area, and she'll promote like for a whole month, like, oh, we're doing a first time home buyer seminar, and she gets all these people to show up, and she has like food and stuff, and she has speakers speaking about first time home buyer, and then she actually do different seminars and different topics. So, that's one way of doing these things too. You can set these up. All right. Online reviews and testimonials. We talked about that, making sure you're getting as many testimonials and reviews, because that's going to be permanent. That's like your credit, right? Your credit report for your reputation. So you want to have a strong reputation, right? If there's a bar thinking about working with you and someone else, that might be the deciding factor, that they go online and they see, wow, this guy has some pretty cool reviews. I'd rather go with this guy, right? Partnerships with builders and developers, and that could just be really in the areas that you're in, right? It could be if you're in an area where there's a lot of that going on, then definitely you want to partner with them and let them know why we can close their loans super fast, right? Cross-selling is huge. That's one of the things that I've always done, is cross-selling. So, I go into a transaction, I have a borrower, I pre-approve them. They're thinking about, they're gonna buy. We go into escrow, we close the escrow, but before we even get there, I may get a call from the listing agent and say, hey, I'm looking at these offers. It looks like you were the loan officer on this transaction. And you say, yeah, you have any questions about the pre-approval? And a lot of loan officers don't realize how important that call is, right? When your agent tells you like, hey, we're writing an offer and here's where we're sending it to, you might even want to be proactive and tell them, okay, can you give me the listing agent's name and number? I'll reach out to him. You can reach out to him, right? I'm going to make up a name. Hey, Todd, Pablo here. Roger just called you. He said that he sent over an offer for my customer Juan. I want to let you know I'm the loan officer. Great communicating. I want to know that with me, you're going to have a great experience. And I want to make sure that this loan closes in a long time. And I'm reaching out to you to see if you have any questions regarding the borrower or the offer, right? Boom. Who's not going to be impressed by that, right? So then you close a transaction. And at the end, you call them up and say, hey, I forgot what I called them. John. Hey, John, we just closed a transaction. How was your experience? Let's say you close it in 10 days. Yeah, I closed it in 10 days, and this is the type of service I can provide for you. Well, I'm already working with the loan officer. No, I don't plan to take anything away from the person you're working, but if they're not available or if they don't have a program or product, I'd like to be available for you, and just get that conversation. And also, if you don't mind, I'm going to put you in my my newsletter if you're okay with that, and just try to keep the conversation going from there. And you'll be surprised that cross-selling, you already have them on the phone. You've already worked with them. They already had experience. So you want to provide a good, solid experience for not just your agent, but for everyone. And that's what potentially can get you more referrals when you're cross-selling. Something that me and Steve do heavily. Like, we do a lot of cross-selling, and we make sure we make it a point to let them know that we're going to work hard so that we can earn their business. Hey, how do you feel if I can close this loan in 10 days, you think you'll give me business, or 15 days, right? Or whatever you feel comfortable with. And then next thing you know, you might be getting business from them, but the whole thing is trying, make it an effort. Is it going to happen 100% of the time? No, of course not. It's not going to happen, right? But hey, if it happens once out of every 5 times, and you do it 100 times, how many more partnerships are you going to develop, right? And you guys don't want to do it this way. The way, the way me and Steve have done it, we've worked from one location. I don't want to say we worked from home because we've always come to an office, but it's almost the same thing, right? We've worked from one location. I open up my email and I start seeing leads that come in. I check my phone, I grab my phone and I'll get a text, hey, I have a customer to refer to you. Please reach out to them. I mean, how cool is that? You just sit back and the leads are coming to you, right? I have agents, this is something that I don't talk about a lot because I don't want real estate agents to get mad at me, but I have some agents out there, they're door knocking 100 different doors a day, 50 doors a day. And then they'll call me like, hey, I was just door knocking. I got a lead for you. Can you please pre-qualify them? And if you really think about it, it was almost equivalent to me door knocking with them for those 50 doors, but me not being there, right? I'm not going to tell them that like, yeah, I should have been there with you, right? But they're doing the whole knocking. They're out in the sun, they're hitting the pavements, and then I'm in my office, air conditioned, waiting for that lead to come in. But I try to deliver a great service in return for that, right? And that's why they keep coming back. And and they may come back for you for many reasons, right? Like, I'm bilingual, I speak Spanish, so they might, they have Spanish speaking customers and they know I do really well with them also. So they might be calling me for that. I have a couple of Keller Williams or a couple of agents in Beverly Hills. They'll send me celebrities right now, right? So every so often I get to work with celebrity. I can't really talk about who I've helped, but it's pretty cool because I'm able to help high caliber customers and they trust me with those customers. So it's pretty cool. But you get the point, right? You have that relationship so that you can keep going. Last thing, specialization, there's so many things you can specialize in. There's commercial, there's reverse mortgages, there's builder, there's construction. There's all kinds of different things you can get good at, hard money, private money. So, think about what else you can add to your arsenal of products that you're maybe offering, maybe something that a lot of people are not doing, or maybe something that's a little bit more difficult. And think of it the same way as like, you have your, in the medical industry, right? You have your doctors that are general practitioners, but then you have your heart specialists, you have your eye surgeons, and they tend to have a more specific focus, and they tend to earn a little bit more money for that skill, right, that they have. So don't be afraid to specialize. First time home buyers is a specialization, government loans, VA loans, and that way you can attack that market. It's 1:40. I want to open it up for you guys. I want you guys to share with me what you're doing right now that's working for you to get business. And again, there's so many ways. I just want to hear from some of you guys. I did ask you early on the call to share. So who's going to be the first brave soul to share with us? I wouldn't mind hearing from you, Martin, if you want to start, because I know you're doing a lot of cool stuff, and maybe give us one or two things and then we'll move on to someone else. And if you have something, go ahead and put it in the chat and then I'll call you out on the chat.
Well, thanks for calling me out there. I wasn't expecting a call out, but basically you're doing some good stuff out there. But I keep on going out there to realtors and just follow up. Basically, one thing I do use a lot is that valuation report that you bring up, but I customize it quite a bit and I change it up all the time. So I've been asked a couple of times, hey, can I share the report? And I really say no, because it's really my personal stuff. So I tell them, do it on your own because you can customize anything they want. But basically, I just walking around with my dogs last week. There's an open house in my neighborhood, so I went ahead and, of course, I'm gonna stop in and say hi. And I grabbed their card, and within about half an hour, I came back with them and to them and gave them that report in a color wise. And it turned out that they actually gave me a couple of referrals within that week, and they were talking about actually a commercial thing that was happening with them that their dad referred them. And it turned out that because of the meeting last week, I actually pre-qual today with somebody. So just opening up and talking to them and keeping in touch. But I am doing a little bit more extra that I just try it out and see if it works. If it doesn't work, then try it out with something else, really, you know.
Yeah, so it sounds like you were using I call it prospecting on the go. So you're just like wherever you're at, whatever situation you're in, whatever event, you're just letting people know what you do and trying to get business that way. I was as an example to that, I was out golfing and with I forgot one of the members out in the country club, and he brought in a guest, and the guy said, "Oh yeah, I'm refinancing with Chase, and I'm at 5.99." I go, well, if you want, I can take a look. I wasn't pressuring him or anything. Oh yeah, yeah, he's all take my number down and tell me what you can do, right? So I went back and I'm like, okay, cool. I'll make a couple of $1,000. I'll give it to you at five. I forgot what it is, 5.3, right? He was at 5.9 with them. I got him 5.3. And then a week later, the rates, I don't know if you guys noticed, but the rates took a little nice drop. And now I relocked them at 4.99, right? Because I called them like, hey, you know what? Rates got a little bit better. So now you're at 4.99. Yeah, he was already going to sign docs with them. So he ends up canceling everything, signs my appraisal order form, and I'm kind of busy, so I let Wendy take over the whole process. And we're gonna probably get that loan closed next week. But just to give you guys an example of how just opening your mouth wherever you're at, and letting people know what you do, it can go a long ways. And I think that's what happened to you there, Martin.
Yeah.
All right, anyone else want to share anything? And remember, we can't be shy. We're not in the mortgage business, we're in the people business. So Julian, I know you've been doing some cool stuff. Anything come top of mind?
Yeah, not as much cool stuff lately, but really following up with some of the open house leads that I did last month in May. So one of my realtor partners who just closed a listing on the 17th of this month, she's been just sending me leads on her open houses. So I did a couple open houses with her, and now she's been doing open houses on her own. And then she sends me over some of the prospective pre-approvals that are needed. And so I've just been following up that way.
So
But it just goes to show that if you put in the time and effort in the beginning stages and you do really good jobs with co-hosting, they'll remember you. And then even though some weekends you might not be available, they'll still remember you and send you the leads afterwards. So it's kind of like what you said, right? Door knocking without door knocking, co-hosting without really co-hosting, because you've just done a good job in the beginning.
Yeah, so that's proof to my point that, and then what happens is she's comfortable with you now, right? So like, oh, he doesn't need, I know him now. I understand he doesn't need to be here all the time, and I know that he can do his job wherever he's at. So I'll give him the leads as they come in. And is she giving you quite a bit, or?
Yeah, about one or two every weekend. Here's a pro tip though. I realized that I changed up a bit. Before, when the realtor partners would send a lead to me, I would just directly reach out. So it's just like one-to-one communication. But what I recommend everyone doing just to kind of further build your trust with your realtor partners is send a group text. So I do a group text with the lead and also include the realtor partner. And then now all of a sudden the realtor partner can see that like, hey, every time I'm reaching out, following up with the potential borrower buyer, she's also kept in the loop. And they really like that. Even though if it's just a check-in, like, hey, have you sent in documents? Or like, hey, rates are at this range right now, blah, blah, blah. Or hey, here's a new potential program for this investment. They like being kept in the loop. And in fact, since I started doing that, every time she sent me a lead, she asked me, hey, can you also create another group text like you did with the last one? So it's been really good. That way you can keep your realtor partner in the loop and open communications the whole time.
Well, that's great. That's great. Nice pro tip. Thank you for that. All right, Rose, you have a story for us? Let's hear it.
Yeah, so I picked up a small rental property in Arizona in Casa Grande, and I called a friend of mine that had just moved to Gilbert, Arizona. I'm like, hey, I need a realtor. I need someone to help me with this lease. I've never done an Arizona lease. So I talked to him, right? And he was great. He got me the lease out in like, I'm serious, like less than 30 minutes. And I'm like, can I write a review for you? Like, I'm so impressed with what you did and how you did it. Let me write a review. So I wrote him a killer Google review because he helped me. I had like a Section 8 inspection coming like an hour later that morning. I needed to have this lease ready to be signed. So I wrote out the whole thing, and then I just stayed in touch with him. And he was like, hey, do you want to do like our Tuesday afternoon meeting, with some of our better realtors? So I said yes. And so what I did was I called Christina at UWM. We prepared for that. We knocked it out of the park with him and 6 of his top realtors. And I've been like sending them a text. I call it Tuesday morning meeting. So every Tuesday morning, I send out a group text to all of them, like, hey, here's our zero down program, or hey, like refis, or whatever it is. Or do you guys have like any open houses coming up? You know, text me the addresses and let me send you some marketing materials. So it's been a really good experience, and it really just came out of a need that I had, and I grew that into, you know, this mutually beneficial relationship. So it's really cool. It's new, and I'm excited to see where that goes. And the other thing is, I've been commenting a lot on realtors in specific areas of Southern California and markets that I'm really familiar with, and even places that I've lived. And some of those realtors have, like, you know, responded back to me, and I'm like, oh yeah, like I lived on this street, and I'll give them my address or whatever, just being like really friendly. And one of them has sent me like 22 leads so far, like 22 customers to pre-qual inside of 2 weeks. So it's
Was he
just
is that an
about
agent,
getting
a real
out
estate
there.
agent, or?
He's a real estate agent.
Okay,
He's a real
perfect.
estate agent since 2020, you know, in an
And,
area. He's in East LA and I grew up in Echo Park. So I just created a relationship by sending him messages on Instagram. And now he's sending me all his leads.
gotcha. And then that's one. So remember, like I said, try to have about 15 to 20. So imagine that, multiply that times 15, 20 people that can be doing that for you on a consistent basis. You'll be busy. Think about how many leads you're going to be getting per week. And the cool thing about this is you're not paying for these leads, or they're organic, and they're higher quality leads. I've noticed that when you get referrals, they're a lot more high quality leads than someone that's Googling a mortgage and then it turns into a lead and you have to pay for that lead online, right? So own your community, know all the real estate offices in your area. If anyone wants to share, I'll continue speaking until I see someone wants to share, and feel free to interrupt me. But you know, wherever you live at, you should have a map hung up on your wall, and you should know at least in a 10-mile radius, 5-mile radius, you should know every real estate office that's operating in your area, and every bank. I've actually make it a point. And actually the funny thing, I was at the bank the other day sending out a wire, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna do this for old time's sake to see if it still works, right? So I go in there and you know, it's out of Wells Fargo, so I guess one of the bankers has to do the wire, right? So I'm sitting there with the gal, and then you know, we start talking, and she's like, oh, wow, you're real estate. I go, yeah, I'm doing, and I start sharing, you know, what I'm doing. And she's showing interest. So I'm said, yeah, you know what? I know you guys get a lot of leads here, and sometimes you can help them. You know, we're down the street here. So if you ever need help with customers that you guys can't approve, because I know you guys turn away a lot of people for different reasons, but we have all kinds of solutions, alternative program. Oh, really? I wasn't aware of that. Yeah, no, we're down the street, and you know, in fact, if you have time, I'd like to take you to lunch, and I can go over the different programs, right? And so then, of course, you know, I get an email. We exchange our information. She emails me later on, and I'm like, oh well, I still got it, right? I'm thinking in my head, but you should know every banker in your area, and build relationships with them, because the traditional banks turn away so much business, and sometimes they actually need you to bail them out. Like I've had banker call me and say, hey, you know what, we're about to get docs on this one, and the customer did this, and now I can't get it approved, and I promised the realtor, and can you please help me? And I'm like, sure, send it over. They send over the file, look at it, make sure I can do it. I get it done, and then he's happy. He's like, wow, thank you so much. You saved my ass. You know, I had promised everyone I could close it, and you know, Chase underwriter came in and wasn't able to close it. And then one of my gimmicks that I used to do is, because I really don't like doing second mortgages. Number one, they're not profitable, and they're super time consuming. So I'd go into the bank and use that as a pretext to start the conversations and say, hey, I'm looking, you know, because you don't want to go in there asking for business, right? You want to bring something of value. And so what I was bringing to a value was a HELOCs, the second mortgages, and say, hey, I'm looking to speak to the mortgage advisor. And oh, you know what, you want to apply? No, I'm not here to apply, but you know, I'm a local, I'm down the street, and I'm getting these mortgage leads, and I kind of want to refer them over to you, and then start the dialogue that way, and make it very clear that, you know, I want something in return, and what I want in return is mortgage leads, right? And you know, and fill out the person too, make sure that they're a good fit, you know, and if I don't feel like they're a good fit, then I'll go across the street to the other bank or whatever, until I find a few loan officers in my area. that are willing to work with me and that I can connect and we have good energy together, right? And then you can drum up business that way. And I mean, I can't even tell you how many times these guys have called and said, I got this bar, this jumbo loan, we can't do it because it's outside of our parameters. Can you please help them? Sure, and I've met a lot of business owners in the area because the business owners tend to go to the banks first. They have accounts there, and then they get turned away, and that banker needs somewhere to turn them over to, right? They want to be able to have a solution for them. Oh, work with this local broker, they can help you. All right. 151, anyone want to share anything that they are doing?
Actually, Pablo, I got one more that fits into this group. Basically, when you guys are getting pre-quals or even contracts, you're still getting the contacts leads for the listing agents. Send a listing agent, or actually, I have the pre-qual and the offers realtors, the buyer's agents. I have them include me on their emails when they're making that offer, because basically that's another lead that they're doing a retail or a realtor. And I actually ended up getting a referral because they say, hey, I speak Spanish. If you have anybody there. And immediately within a few hours, he said, it just happened to be that I have a couple leads for you. And that was the listing agent. So have them try to, the buyer's agent include you into their communication, because then it'll be easier for when you actually do call them up and do a follow-up.
Oh, that's great. That's great. And just to close it up, you guys we can make a fortune working from home. And the real value in life is not the money we're going to make, but the time and the quality of time that you can spend with your family, the people that you love, that this job can create for you. That's created for myself. And I've never missed any of my kids' plays, anything that has to do with anything that's important and dear to me, because I have the flexibility to create my own schedule at will. And this is something that this opportunity as a loan officer allows us to do. And with the technology, taking that into account, using that as a tool, you can be in one place and build an empire. I'm living proof of it. Steve Kim's a living proof of it. Some of you guys are living proof of it. You guys have been doing it for a long time. So we know that it can be done. And this is a part that should be the most exciting, not necessarily the amount of money that we make, but the amount of time that we can create for ourselves to spend time with the things that we want to do, maybe, or with our friends, family, or whoever, what really matters, right? And that's really taking charge of your life. And I think that's really something you need to think about, and the bonus is really the money. For me, ultimately, what we're doing now at this moment is we're doing self-work, but it doesn't need to end here. As soon as this call ends, you need to continue that journey on your own. And looking back, one of my favorite things and one of the greatest benefits of being a loan officer was working on myself constantly and becoming a better version, having a better thought process, being able to communicate better and effectively, because by investing in myself and having those abilities, I was able to close more loans. But I didn't realize that was going to carry over to my personal life, my personal relationships, and create richer, more high quality type of relationships, because I invested in myself, in my personal growth. But again, the time is, I think, what is the most valuable here, especially when you get to my age at 50, you realize like, oh shit, I'm only away from 60, then 10 years, 60, 70, and boom, then we're out of time, right? So, use this to create the time to to spend time with your loved ones. Everything's in place for you guys to do that. And just think of the endless ways that you can get business. You have to use your imagination, get creative with it. But you can almost do anything if you really think about it to start drumming up business. And last thing, just remember, humans only have 4 options. I think I say 3 or 4 options, right? If you're a human, you have to live somewhere, right? We all know that, right? So you're either living at home with your parents, you're either homeless, you don't have a home, you're either renting, or you're owning and buying, right? And those are the things, that's where we come in, right? We help in that category. And I think 90% of people want to own their own home and be in that space where they can own it. So we're providing the community, society, a great service. I mean, our roles are very important in what we do, and help people get into the homes that they want, because humans need to live somewhere, you know, and those are their only options they have. And the two main ones is either renting or owning, and that's where we come in to be able to help and make a difference. And I'm so thankful for technology. It's brought us to this point where we can literally work from one location. If I was in prison and I had an internet and a phone, I bet you I could make millions, you know, out of a jail cell, right? Not that I want that to happen, but because you just need that communication to make it happen. I just want to exaggerate that point. Thank you guys so much. I missed you guys last week. We'll do it again next week. And again, thank you so much for participating. It really means a lot to me. And I'll let you guys know the topic for next week. So see you next week, guys. Take care. Have a good one.